Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Adventures in Arcane Space. Once again, I am your Dungeon Master, AuldDragon, and the players are...
Hi, I'm David Big Mac Shepherd, and this week I have my microphone on, and I play Braxon Miacc, who's a human fighter from an asteroid near Brow.
Hi everyone, I'm Misama and I play Solas Ebha, who is Half-Elven Cleric Mage of Ogma, and I want to wish hyvää juhannusta to every Finnish viewer.
Oh, only the Finnish viewers. Oh, so rude.
See how it is.
Good to know. I feel
Others
to
don't
everybody else.
celebrate it.
I'm James. I play Ockar, human paladin from Brawl.
Hello, everyone. I'm Salem Mortar. I play Finnel'ar Mohani, a druid from Grayspace.
Hi, I'm Levalithana, an elven wild mage, and she doesn't know where from, even now.
We'll find out one day. Hey, I'm Zakad. I play Lafdul Moonglade, a elven Mischiefmaker thief multi-class from Realm Space, from Toro or Faerun or whatever you want to call it, from Evermeet. Fantastic place of elves, and his gimmick is coming up with fun titles. And his current title is the marvelously meddlesome multifaceted manipulator. Because, wow, I don't know. It just sounded cool. He manipulates gems and he's meddlesome and he thinks himself as marvelously. He needed a word to describe meddlesome in a more grandiose way. Because he's totally not vain about his title sometimes.
No, not vain at all. No.
Are these titles not out of character?
No, they're in character. Sometimes they're based on.
Sometimes
like,
they're in
wear a
character,
little
sometimes
name
they're out of
badge?
character. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
I don't know whether Braxon's ever seen Lafdul wearing a name badge with any of these titles on.
That's not how it would work anyway. Viewers can give the players a re-roll with 500 bits, and currently Braxon has one, Finn has one, Ockar has one, Lafdul has two, Leva has 0, Solas has 2, and I, the Dungeon Master, have 2.
What?
You
When
used
did you
all
get
of yours.
two?
You used all of yours up last time.
Yeah, I was
Yeah, I
like,
know.
Leva used up so many.
Yeah, she needs some more. Please. How about switching the ones from the game master to Leva?
No.
Yes.
No, those are mine. In fact, you know what? Now they're all mine. All of them are mine. I'm just gonna make that. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a dragon. I am supposed to hoard. Anyway, we left off last time. The party had succeeded in waking up from the dream, getting through the dream. Oh, Preskitch has given you one there, Leva. That is very,
thank
very
you very
generous of him.
much.
Blatant corruption out in the open.
Appeal to the audience's kind nature, clearly.
Appeal to the audiences,
And
yeah.
the player slipping him money under the table.
She clearly used her feminine charms.
Yes, she blinked. Pretty please. Yes.
So the last few sessions, the party has been transitioning through a number of dream worlds, and that culminated in a truly bizarre one of a giant bakery, including delicious baked goods trying to eat you instead.
Not the most bizarre dream Solas ever have.
Our DM had just watched Inception yet again and decided to put us in the same kind of situation.
Nah, it was actually my girlfriend wanted to see pie golems.
And then for the other dreams.
Oh, the other dreams are just funsies.
I think other dreams were just the build-up for the climax of pie golems.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can't top pie golems, so.
I think Braxon will be interested in gingerbread men spacefarers.
So we left off. We left off last session just as the dream was fading and you were waking up. You can hear Velthiad in his bed rising and groaning and getting ready to say something. But I believe, Braxon, you wanted to say something first.
Yeah. Braxon's going to start flopping about trying to wake up, and he's going to be saying, "Sound the alert! There might be an attack."
The elves all around you are kind of like, shocked by this, surprised by your sudden outburst. And the Vice Admiral herself, Alshara, says, "What sort of attack? What do you know from where and who it will be from?"
Braxon says, trying to blink his eyes open, "I might be wrong, but somebody found a way to get something to take out your admiral. You need to be cautious."
At that, Velthiad, looking much older than he did in the dreams, says, "I do not believe that will be necessary. That entity and I had faced off once before, many centuries ago."
Oh, so this isn't your first time with a dream demon?
Whatever it is, I do not know exactly what it was, but I did face it and was able to fend it off. It was in another crystal sphere long ago, and I suspect it may have been hunting me ever since. I do not know.
Well, whatever it was, we defeated it this time.
I hope we weren't the hitchhikers for it. It hitched a ride with us.
I don't think so. It was here before us.
Was it?
I think those kinds of entities can travel pretty freely.
I do not know, in truth, but I do believe that you were able to destroy it, and I thank you for that.
Tell you what, you were incredibly difficult to convince.
I believe those earlier dreams were dreams of my own making. They were from my past, and they held specific meaning for me. I suspect that is why you could not get through to me. But for now, what we were all experiencing was not truly sleep, and I believe that we all need some rest. It is still a good idea to be on the alert in case this thing had minions or some other allies that may attack. I believe I am not too concerned, but it is always better to be safe than sorry. And he issues some orders to Alshara. And he's like sitting up in bed, and he looks to you as you guys are all getting up, and you guys are all like groggy and tired, like as if you've like not really physically exhausted, but just absolutely mentally exhausted.
Solas feels absolutely terrible since his brain and mind feels like it's in a cloud.
I remember we got all that like stat damage healed.
Yeah, you're well, it'll take a few hours. And if you sleep, then you'll be, that should all come back.
How old is Velthiad? 600? 500?
He's over 500 years old.
Yeah, he's pretty old for an elf.
Closer to 500 than 600.
I mean, I would think you would have to be pretty old to be actually admiral.
Yeah.
To have that much experience.
No, I mean, the scaling's just different in the Elven. Yes. They don't do anything fast.
So he requests Alshara shuttle you all back to the Crown Base so you can return to your quarters. And then he says, once we've all slept well and all of the after effects of this experience have abated, I will come speak to you, and we can discuss what you wanted to speak to me about. I believe you wanted to talk to me about the constellates.
Yes, Admiral.
But that can wait. That
but
can
yeah,
wait.
it can. Yeah. It's nice to finally get to meet you, though.
Indeed, and I thank you very much for your timely rescue. I do not know what would have happened if you had not intervened. And already, like, the details of all of those dreams, all of them are beginning to fade. Like, and you suspect that by the time you wake up again, or sometime tomorrow, you'll only have vague recollections of the events, and you won't be able to recover many of the details.
Before going to sleep, Solas would make few notes about the
Oh yeah, Lafdul's definitely making notes.
whole adventure in the
Okay.
dream.
I
Alright.
am forcing my will to stay up with me because many notes as I can.
Basically, what Solas is going for with these notes is he's going to as many details of the entity as he can remember and try to research about it later on.
That stays with you a little bit longer, like the last dream, and it kind of goes in progression of the first dream is the one that fades first, and then the second one. So that last dream with the giant bakery, that one will be freshest longest.
That sounds like a nightmare. Some of us want to forget that, you know. Some of us might find it funny.
But even then, like, I mean, the details will all fade, and
Mm-hmm.
you'll mostly have like vague feelings, and I think there was this, you know, that kind of thing. But you are escorted out of Velthiad's chamber and back through the citadel here. All of the elves that were asleep are beginning to wake up. They don't seem to be having the same like after effects as you guys, and you suspect it's because like they weren't brought into a dream by this creature. There was just like some sort of other thing that happened, kind of thing.
Braxon's, while he's forgetting what everyone looked like, is trying to see if he recognized anyone from the dream, like were any of the elves in the dream made to look like someone that the Admiral knew now.
Not that you can tell. I mean, the only ones who might have been there would currently be over 300 years old. So
yeah,
I was just going to try and remember names, particularly names of places, and so you can like maybe revisit this place in like the future.
Okay.
You know, it's like a bucket list, you know. Oh, there was a great war there. I experienced that in a dream. Now I'm experiencing it in real life. So I just want to walk around, you know, pick a flower or something. It's a bucket list for after.
So you want to go and fight the Witchlight Marauders in that
No.
world? Okay.
But I'm interested in, you know, the surreal nature of it, you know. Like stepping into the past and now stepping into the present time and seeing the difference.
Yeah, you can definitely try to remember some of the names and ask about them later, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. What crystal sphere it was in, etc.
Yeah. So you are escorted back and shuttled back to the Elven Crown base and return to your quarters, and you're able to get some sleep. After good 8 hours of sleep, you'll wake up and an Elven soldier will report that Velthiad will be coming up later, so you'll have time to memorize some spells and stuff like that if you want.
You say that it's like 8 hours for all of us or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, because you did lose all of your spells, yes. Those were wiped.
Max 8 or 12?
Max is 8. Max is 8.
Nah.
Now, I mean, nothing like, and upon waking up, nothing bad has happened. No one has attacked. So, the elves are you know, their sense of alertness and alarm is abating at this point. So you'd feel confident, like you can focus on certain spells. You don't have to spend all the 8 hours memorizing spells either. Like, you know, you'll have, once you're flying through wild space, you'll have depending on where you want to go, you know, weeks to spend. So the 8-hour limit isn't that big of a deal at that point.
Well, for clerical spells, it is
Oh, it's rough for you.
for me, since I have to remember to refresh the contact.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can always kick that off to at first, and like the thing is, like with contact home power, you can cast it at any time and it refreshes the week. So if it's been 4 days and it's just like, you know what? Better to be safe than sorry. You know, do I remember when this is going to expire? Or, you know, we might be in a situation where I'm not going to be able to cast it in 3 days. Let me just cast it now, kind of thing. You know, you can always do that.
I think we were there was a certain point of don't buy out the entire shop supply between us three casters of all their small horns that we need as spell components, because we were all buying like 20 each, and it's like 60. Do you have 60 small horns available?
Well, in spelljamming ports, they would tend to have those because maybe not in 60 quantities, but you know. And again, if you're flying through wild space, you know, if you don't change your spells up, you don't need to cast it again.
Oh, I wonder if they got a sanctuary for Aravan here.
Not on the Crown Base and not on that.
No, on any of the worlds in the sphere.
They might. You'd have to ask.
Looks like they're only like sensible elven gods.
My God's perfectly sensible. You know, he brings balance to the rest of them.
It brings balance to the force.
Brings needed change as well. So, upon waking up, you guys can, like, if there's anything that you want to discuss. I know there was some talk about wanting to try and do some things in the Crystal Sphere. You can either talk to each other and decide what you want to do, iron those plans out. Once you get the information from Velthiad, or you can talk to the elves and see if they have any information for you.
Just a fun note, just the clerical spells is 6 and 2/3 hours.
Yeah, so not that much time.
Yeah, and on top of that, I have to memorize the wizard spells, of course.
Yeah, but you have this ring, so
Yeah,
it
but you
takes
do.
far less time than it takes us.
Well, I think I still have most time that I have to spend even with the amulet that half the wizard spell memorization.
When you do the wizard spells on one day, and then the rest on the next day or something.
Braxon's deity gives all these spells to him much faster than anyone else.
I mean, my recommendation would be to start with spells that you think are going to be useful, like immediately.
Yeah.
And then
that was
just
just
focus on them, even if it's just going to be a couple hours that you're going to need to spend memorizing.
Yeah, that was mostly just a fun fact how long it's going to be taking Solas.
But like, you can break off learning the spells and then do some stuff and come back to it, can't you?
No.
Nope.
No?
You have to do it at once.
All in one sitting.
Yep.
And pretty much as soon as you wake up and have basically eat breakfast and such.
Yeah, you have to be
You
well
have to
rested.
do it the moment you wake up.
Yeah, you pretty much bring breakfast, brunch, dinner, lunch, everything into your room when you're doing this.
Yeah. Lara will do that for 8 hours the first day, and the rest of the time second day.
Do you have to do it before you put on your makeup?
Yes, that's why she doesn't show her face. You know,
Okay.
like Lafdul said, just get everything together and go and start, and at the very end come out nicely done up and just like nothing happened.
You get like a minor illusion spell, like a glamour spell.
Yeah.
Luckily, I only have to prep 2 first level spells right now.
I mean,
Everyone else is like, oh god, it's gonna take me so long, and Ockar's like, I'm done.
Yeah, but Ockar, you gotta spend like hours like cleaning Beowulf and like defleeing him or doing whatever you have to do.
Not every day.
No, but you know,
Like-
it takes a few hours when you have to do it.
Yeah, but that's like once a month.
Wow.
Yeah, but you know, if you
Awesome.
don't,
When
if
it
you
comes
don't
to
clean dogs
deflaying,
for
when it comes to deflaying, that's once a month. When it comes to bathing, that just depends on what he's been up to.
But you
If-
do
if
know
I did-
dogs develop this special smell if they are not cleaned.
if
I mean, when you're
didn't
flying
have
through
the-
wild space, you don't have to worry too much about him getting into too much stuff. Like, he can only get into what's on the ship, pretty much.
I don't typically imagine I have to bathe them too often.
Yeah.
If I didn't have the amulet, it would take pretty much almost same time for the wizard spells as it takes for the clerical spells.
Yeah, but it was your choice to be a
Mhm.
to be a cleric wizard.
All right.
Yeah.
So, like, I know there was some talk about wanting to do some things in this crystal sphere if you had a chance.
Mhm.
Do you want to discuss that and make a plan for what you want to do? You've definitely gotten the impression that you'll get the information from Velthiad, and then you'll kind of have somewhat free reign. Like, you don't have to just immediately go leave if you don't want to.
I remember you mentioning that there was a big library in the sphere.
I mean, there are. I don't think I specifically mentioned that there was a big library, but there are libraries because there's
Mhm. Solas wants to
nations.
visit at least a few of them, if possible.
Lafdul wants to spend as much time as he's given. If
Also,
he's ever.
Also, Solas thinks that it would be a good idea to spend at least few weeks in the sphere, not just in wild space, so our crew gets to have downtime.
Yeah, Braxon also wants to see if we can earn some money. So
Yeah, that's the downside of doing this is that we've got a constant crew cost.
we might spend 2 or 3 crystal spheres where we just go across the spheres without having any supplies. So we need to be able to pay the crew, and we need to be able to buy
Well, there's
food.
plenty of gems to sell. We just need somewhere to sell them.
Okay, I guess we need to find a place to sell gems.
Basically, an elven city around there. Or
I'd like to try to find like an animal trainer or a place that I can find a bug about animal training.
That reminded me, Ockar.
Hmm?
You would mention this, yes? This is in character.
Yeah.
So Lafdul just looks at his armor and he just, what if Beowulf wore like a chainmail overcoat? Elven chair. It's light. It's probably the best Beowulf could wear. That's not encumbering.
You would have to have armor that's like specifically made for him, kind of, because I already got like a leather barding for him. You'd have to like modify it.
Yeah, but elves specialize in light armor, generally, as far as I know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
but
also like they don't make elven mail on order for outsiders.
No, like
Elven
that's what I
mail
was
is
trying
basic. Elven mail is, if I'm not mistaken, is usually given as basically some kind of reward for great service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and guess what we did recently?
And I'm not sure if they'd be willing to make elven mail for a wolf, even one as amazing as Beowulf.
And again, it would be
You never know.
like if they say, "What sort of reward would you like?" Yeah, then you could ask. But if you kind of are like, "Hey, we just saved you. Could you give us this?" That's a little gauche.
Yeah.
Also, Beowulf is a wolf, not a horse. Wolf fur is dramatically different in wolves are not going to be as disposed towards wearing barding as a horse is.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I have him wearing the pad stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. The best I could do is probably leather armor.
I mean, you could get
studded
more.
leather?
You could get more. I'm just saying that. I mean, anything would need to be.
Training,
Yeah,
maybe.
he'd need to be measured. It would need to be made. It would take a very long time. And
Also,
it
you
would be
would have
encumbering and stuff
to-
like that. So
Also, you would have to convince Beowulf about it.
It seems
my
like the penultimate for him now.
right, but my recommendation, if you're gonna go down that route, is do it in conjunction with enchantment. Like, so if you're at a point where it's like, okay, we have either the personal magic or a contact that we can pay to enchant some stuff.
Which I'm not sure we have either.
Right.
will
Well, I
at
mean,
some
that's
point.
yeah, that's
Very expensive.
it would be
I
very
think-
expensive to do it either for your own characters or for an outside person.
And one enchantment I could suggest for Ockar if he ever wants to do that kind of thing is to have it enchanted so that he could basically have telepathy with Beowulf.
Mm.
That
I'm not sure
probably
I
would
want
be-
that.
Feed
Why not?
me. Walkies.
I'm fine with how it is now. I don't think I want to talk to him all the time.
I
You
mean,
wouldn't be
you don't have
whining all the time now. You mean we all see how Beowulf looks at you sometimes.
So
Look,
again,
I would prefer to just get like find like an animal trainer or a book about animal training and see
Yeah.
about teaching him some things to make him more generally useful outside of just my own order.
Sounds good.
So that if I'm not around and somebody needs to ask Babel to do something, he'd be able to do without me there.
also, like the crew would welcome shore leave, but the crew would also welcome getting home. So balance out
Yeah.
those things.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, I've been traveling for like 2 months, or what was it? 2 months, 3 months?
It's
Three
been a
and
while.
stuff now.
It has been a while.
Well,
And while this is a safe port we are in, it's not really a port where we can have shore leave.
well, yeah, we got told we couldn't really leave our ships
No,
without
this
permission.
port you can't do shore leave,
Yeah.
but there's other planets here.
Yeah.
So again, like the,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
point is, figure out what you want to do, then go to the elves and say, hey, these are the things we want to do. Where would you recommend we go? And then the elves are like,
yeah.
oh, you want then your best bet is to go here. Then you can go there,
Yeah.
do the things, that kind of thing.
Also, Braxton, I wouldn't worry too much about money making quite yet. We don't know what kind of reward the elves might give us for saving their leader. We might get a good bit of money that way.
And not just saving their leader, but also
The entire planet.
giving them the chance to reconnect with the wider Elven Imperial Navy with the route back home.
That's true.
They might
that's
give
an
us a decent
immeasurable.
reward for that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's
So-
just why Lafdul wants to buy as many
Well, let's see what-
law as he can. Lafdul wants to bring back the law of this like civilization that's been cut off.
I mean, until you like, keep in mind also that having the good grace of the Elven Imperial Navy can also be considered a reward
Yeah.
in and of itself. So
Oh, yeah.
Let's see if they offer us anything. I mean, they've done us loads of favors before, and we owe them favors any time anyway.
Mhm.
And it's also really impolite to just, well, what's the reward for this?
Yeah. I think the other thing
Yeah.
about connecting them to the rest of the elves is that it's going to help the elves in our area to be connected to these elves. So it all makes everything better.
all right. So what kinds of things do you want to do that you might
I
be able to do in
wanted
this sphere?
to
So Solas wants-
introduce Finn to a druid of Levalithana
Okay.
somewhere. So, place with lots of forest. Any elven planet will have lots of forest, typically.
Unless they're like ocean elves or valley
Yeah.
elves.
So Ericol itself, that's the second planet. That's a spherical Earth body. It's a little bit smaller than like Toril, but it's to a certain extent kind of your standard world. There's multiple nations on there, continents, oceans, forests. It's been described to you as having like soaring mountains and extremely tall forests. Kind of a heavy avian life presence on that planet. Lots of things flying through the trees and the mountains and stuff like that.
Braxon wants to find out if these extremely tall trees provide stronger wood.
You're like the antithesis to all the elves. Oh, lumberjack, no! It's like being related to a drow elf or something. It's like the worst thing ever.
Solas wants to visit the biggest libraries this sphere has, and also if there is any place where there's like a wizard's guild or something like that.
Well, we should ask if the Admiral knows about the consulate that we need to get through, and if he doesn't, then we should go look in these libraries to see if we can find out.
You probably would know.
I think it was implied that the Admiral knows, but this is what we want to do, possibly other things
Oh,
in
I
here.
think he knew the price. That was specifically what he knew.
Yeah. Because when he first arrived in the sphere, when the Elven Imperial Navy first arrived in the sphere, he was a junior officer and did a survey of the consulates.
Oh, right. Okay.
But the only things that really got, like, preserved kind of thing, I mean, not preserved, but, like, there were a lot that were kind of, like, dismissed as, this one is unimportant.
Yeah.
The only ones that really made it into general knowledge were the ones that actually ended up having routes that got used frequently, kind of thing. No one's ever used the if they're like they don't know for sure that there's a portal back there, and no one's ever come out of it, and no one's ever tried to go through it, kind of thing.
Yeah. So no one's going to know.
Yeah.
Unless the thing asks for what it wants, and then somebody says, "Sorry, I haven't got that," and is allowed to leave.
Well, coming into the crystal sphere is fine. It's almost leaving that's the that requires the cost. And so you've got time before that. If you wanna get that information first before deciding what you want to do, that's fine too. Is that what you guys want to do?
I wouldn't mind getting the information first and then doing other things around the sphere.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
we'll plan around it.
if we were to find out that we needed 72 golden elephants, then we'd be going shopping for golden elephants.
Okay. All right. So later that day, you do see a Shrike ship come back up, probably the same one that you went down on.
Oh.
Yeah.
How much memories would I have lost by the next day of the thing?
Quite a bit. What did you want?
I mean, you did say that you were going to be writing down
Yeah,
the
no,
details.
I was writing it down, but I was specifically writing down memories of locations and places. No, the thought had crossed my mind to specifically for Lafdul to ask Margoth about this, because she seems to have lived long enough to experience this.
Do you want to talk to her before speaking to Velthiad?
I would make casual conversation with it. It would be in private. I wouldn't have told anyone else.
Okay.
you know, I would just give her like I mean, she's gonna ask her, you know, what happened and stuff. So at some point, we're gonna say certain things, but
Yeah, I mean, but when you get back to your ship, like it's very clear that you all are completely exhausted and ready to just like collapse into bed, kind of thing. So she would not press the issue. You know,
yeah.
like everyone aboard would be like, "What happened? How did it go? What you know, what's going on?" kind of thing. And you guys would, you know, give a very, very brief, you know, couple sentence summary, and then
Would we, as a group, would we have agreed to keep the memories secret, or would we be a bit more? We went back in time, or what? What's the lowdown as a group decision?
I mean, was there any real secrets about those dreams? If they were
I
just conflicts that might be known
Happened.
for any historian of the
I
war.
don't remember Velthiot saying to keep it secret.
Yeah,
Yeah, all right.
I mean,
Hang on, I thought he was doing this on his own.
No, yeah. Well, this is in. It would affect my decision whether or not I would even mention this to her at some point.
yeah, he's asking whether you guys as a group would have wanted to keep the general details secret.
'Cause
No,
it would have crossed my
especially-
mind that Margoth would probably want to know.
Don't forget that we were all told us that it's like a dream. So it's actually we don't recall everything. So it's slowly going away.
And it's
Right.
also the thing that no one ever told us that we shouldn't talk about it, so I don't see
Yeah.
a reason why we should keep it secret at all.
and most likely there's some history books about the subject if
Right.
you were lucky enough to find a library with history books about the war.
Braxon's not going to try to actively remember any of this, and he's not going to say anything to anyone who's not in the Elven Navy. But if someone's an elf, he's going to assume that they know the needs of their race better than he does.
The only
So-
po-
Leva will think back of the gingerbread cookies and grin from time to time.
oh, that's the part I'm repressing.
Yeah, Lafdul can see the comedy side of it.
I'm actively trying to forget the whole bakery scenario even happened.
Hey, come on, Ockar.
Hey,
you,
Ockar,
you,
you remembered.
you were so valorous defending
I
them from
feel-
those
I feel-
deadly gingerbread men.
Yeah,
Shut
that,
up.
that
Like,
was remember Lafdul almost dying to gingerbread.
I don't know what you're
to
talking about.
pie.
That didn't happen.
I was knocked upside down.
I feel like Lafdul that Erevan would be really impressed if you ever were to create gingerbread golems and pie golems.
I don't know what
So
you're
if only I owned a bakery, that would be maybe a thing.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
All right, so
the one-
Lafdul.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. It's just
It's also a case that I know she's old, so it's kind of like, especially when she was being coy about the fact that you started the war, well, you'd only know that if you lived that long. So
Tell her
it was
about
also
the gingerbread.
yeah. No, it would be. No, I would tell her. I mean, I don't really.
so after getting up
Have-
and memorizing your spells, would you go to her quarters, knock on her door, and like be, hey, you got
I
a
don't know,
second
I would
to
just
talk?
make casual conversation. That I.
Well, yeah, but you don't make
experienced
casual
memory-
conversation in private.
Well, yeah, all right.
I mean, you're on a ship in which the only privacy you get is your quarters, and so
Possibly in the library.
All right, yeah, all right, then I just knock on her door and I say, "Hey, Margoth, you got a minute?"
sure, come in.
So when I was down on the planet, it was the most weird thing that happened. There's this big scary dream eater. It manipulated this admiral. We went back in time. Back to the Inhuman Wars. Yeah, well, you seem to be quite versed on that, or given your age, and I actually say that. Yeah, I mean,
She'll give you a sharp look at that.
Oh, I know how old you are. You're old. But I haven't told anyone other than the Druid in our group, so, I've got no reason to tell anyone. You've got your reasons, no doubt. Yeah, so no, did you actually live through the Unhuman War then? You that old?
She takes a deep breath and then says, "Unfortunately, yes. Yes, I was alive then."
Oh, wow. Really unusual for... Normally your kind don't live that long. You must have a good reason for keeping yourself alive for this long. Obviously, your reasons are your own, it's not my business, but it's...
It truly was not my choice. Well,
Oh,
I shouldn't say that. It was, but it wasn't. It wasn't my actions that did it, but it was my choice.
Well, we've all got our own stories, I suppose. I'm out here to live life, I guess. I didn't want to live the rest of my life being cooped up in a city and the expectations that were placed upon me. I want to go out there and see the world for myself and judge things for how I see them, not what someone else tells me for.
And after my experiences, I did not want to see what I saw ever happen again.
No, yeah, that's pretty horrible seeing, people's put against each other. I mean, nobody wants to live through war. I hope it doesn't happen again, but, I'm just one elf. I'll do what I can.
It is, in truth, what brought me to Meriadar. He is not one who... he is one who appreciates a peaceful existence.
Yeah, unlike most of the Seldarin that I worship, Erevan's very he's not an outcast, he's an outliner in that he gets along with like the seedy courts. He mingles around with the fun folk, outside of the Seldarin. He's the god of pranks. He has fun with, he likes to have adventure, tell people to reinvent themselves. That's part of my dogma is to reinvent myself, to experience life, go out there and see what the world is.
She gives a bit of a chuckle and then says, "Then I imagine he would really appreciate me."
I'd imagine so.
It is hard to reinvent oneself more than I have.
But we're all students of our own deities. I wish Braxon, our captain, would be a little bit more tolerant to our other faiths. I really hate those types that consider their faith like everyone's faith. Really ticks me off. I don't know about you. Maybe that's just me.
Oh, I'm quite patient towards that.
I suppose that is a perk of being a follower of Meriadar.
Oh yes, he encourages patience.
I bet sometimes you wish the opposite. Oh well, yeah. No,
Oh
so I
no,
just
no,
make...
no. I am quite happy to be patient. It encourages it encourages acceptance and a long-term view.
I suppose what I was trying to think of was it tests your faith, I guess, is what I was alluding to.
I suppose you could say that, yeah. Yes.
Well, we should be finding our way out of the sphere soon. Hopefully. We have a meeting anyway. Anyway, I was catching up with you.
I would appreciate it if you would not share what you know with others.
I wasn't planning on to. I mean, there was one person that does know, but I had to confide in one person, and that person pretty much reinforced the idea I already have of you, is that you have no. There's not exactly a delicate way of saying it, but it's like no ill intent towards us, should I say? I mean, you're going about your business. You have your own goals. I'm not here to judge. You know, I've got my own goals. I'm not a perfect person. I've made mistakes in life, you know, and we just go about life as we do.
Indeed, I appreciate that.
The interview was a bit. They definitely found it a bit questionable that we were traveling with you. I mean,
I expected no less. And if they wished for you to put me off before they allowed you to dock, I would understand that. By the way, they're not letting her off the ship.
No, I would have vouched for you.
They're still not letting her off the ship.
Yeah, I know. I say this from like I'm learning. I'm young, but I'm learning about tolerance, and don't judge someone as just by their race and creed, just because of what society expects of you. See someone based on their merits and what they do, you know. There's a lot more to life than
that is quite admirable. It is something that I have always tried to teach my acolytes as well.
Well, sorry, I don't want to keep you from whatever it is you need to do. I mean, I've got to get ready for a meeting, I think. The rest of the officers, so I'll let you carry on.
Indeed. You said the Admiral's name was Velthiad, correct?
Yes, is that name familiar to you?
Oh, I was just curious. I wanted to make sure that I heard it correctly.
Is there more to this meaning than you're willing to tell me? I mean, I'm not judging. You've obviously got your reasons, but you wouldn't have mentioned it otherwise.
No, I just wanted to make sure that I heard you correctly when you came back aboard the ship.
Okay. I don't believe it for a minute, but sure. Everyone has their own goals, and it's not my place to judge everyone.
Ah, just most people got it. All right.
Yeah, well, I go for the people that are just unfun in the world. Weird as that might be, you know. I try to stick to what Aravan preaches, teaches, expects. I don't know what the wording is. You know, his expectation that you change up the self-righteous or the stiff and the people that won't change. Or
they're the ones who people who are willing to change are not as much of his concern as those who are pretty rigid and not wanting to accept change and things like that. So yeah,
he must not like Helm.
I mean, how much interaction do they actually have, you know?
It's always that same guard on watch. He never moves. You not change up the guards? Oh, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to take up any more time than I have, so...
Yeah, I appreciate this conversation, and thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
I've learned a lot about this, so thank you for, your thoughts and your opinions. It helps make better decisions in the future.
And I appreciate you keeping this to yourself.
Carry on.
All right, so you return, or you leave your quarters?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably go to the officers' meeting at some point later in the day.
All right, so, yeah, so you, anyone who would be up on deck later that day would see the Shrike ship dock with the crown base. And shortly thereafter, an elven officer would arrive to inform you that Admiral Velthiad is ready to meet with your officers.
Let's go do it then.
All right. Does everyone want to go, or is there anyone who would be staying behind?
No, I'd be good.
I'm going.
No, go ways.
Okay.
Braxon's going.
I'm under on.
Oh, by the way, is this Admiral a regular elf? Is he, if he's a regular elf, yeah?
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, he's not native to the sphere. He came here from elsewhere.
Was it the Vice Admiral that is a very elf?
Yes, the Vice Admiral is a Variel.
Yeah.
All right, so you are conducted once again into the citadel of the Crown Base and to a meeting room similar to the one that you'd already been in, but different. It's just kind of like neighboring it or something like that. It's a little bit smaller, and Velthiad, and if you aides and officers are with him, not the Vice Admiral, and no one else that you're very familiar with. You've seen some of them around and stuff like that, but they're mainly just his aides kind of thing. Any motions for you guys to sit down in some chairs that are there, and you can get comfortable. And then he says, I understand that you have an arcane set of directions for getting back to spheres familiar to you, which, since you are familiar with the Imperial Navy, and Lenelius would come with you as well, would be brought along as well, and familiar to the greater Imperial Navy. I have been informed that it apparently would take you through the consulate known as the Wounded Warrior.
That is what we understand, yes?
Side note,
Oh, yeah? Did you say something?
did we ever learn where Velthiad came from? What sphere?
No.
Right.
But he fought in the Unhuman Wars, so like one of dozens of elven spheres. Even if you heard it, you might not actually know it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think what that sphere was called that Hegemus's Geas took us to. Did that sphere ever have a name? It was like an abandoned
did.
sphere, right?
I'd have to go back and let me look.
It's not important now.
It's not.
So
That's not the one he's from, though.
I was just wondering if, yeah, all right.
Yeah, I mean that was just a place where battles were fought and stuff like that. Velthiad pulls open a small book. It looks like like a personal diary type thing, and is quite old. And he flips through it and says, yes, in my survey, that consulate requires a sacrifice of some sort, a personal sacrifice. The greater the sacrifice, the more ships will be allowed through, and it is apparently by individual group or ship, so it was not terribly specific, and without wanting to just make a bunch of sacrifices and then hope that there was something through the portal that it guards, we never bothered trying to find out what was through there.
Yes, well, the directions we got say that we have to go through the Bloodstar, which would be then in the Wounded Warrior constellation.
Yes, yes. I will be speaking with my officers to determine what might be an appropriate sacrifice to make to allow us through. But based on my conversation with that consulate centuries ago, you yourselves would have to make one as well. We could make one for the Elven Imperial Navy, but you are not a member of that organization.
Gotcha. We would have to know what kind of sacrifice we need to make.
It's personal, so what's valuable to us? Either something we know or something we own.
Hmm.
And it would be as a group, I assume. So,
as you would not be likely to come back here, you would probably not need to make as large of a sacrifice as we would, or a merchant who chooses to travel between this location and others. But yes, it would have to be either something important to you as the group or something important to the captain and or owner of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god, I know it. Braxton's gonna have to sacrifice a magic cup.
now he's going to have to sacrifice his clothes again. You know how much he values his clothes. It's a personal joke between the party.
Solas prepares to pour one out for the constellate.
I cannot offer too much in the way of guidance, as so far as we know, no one has attempted to use the portal that it guards. I do not know what might be an appropriate sacrifice for you. That is something that you will have to discuss yourselves.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for the advice.
Do you have any further questions? It will take us at least a number of days to organize an expedition to go through that portal. And we would ideally like to travel with you, since we have the same goals.
Safety in numbers.
What? You said you're from Outer Sphere. Do you mind if we ask where from?
He mentions a crystal sphere that you've never heard of.
I'll make a note to write it down at some point.
Yep.
It's just so, when I talk of this sphere, then I'll be able to reference who the Admiral is and where he's from. Maybe if I ever visit that sphere.
Yep. And do you guys have any other questions for him?
I will make a comment. I'll say if I ever visit that sphere, I'll be sure to pass along your name to any relatives.
Braxon says...
Well, hold on. He needs to respond to that. He nods to you, Lafdul, and says, I appreciate it. Hopefully if we can get through and make contact with the rest of the Imperial Navy, such an action by you will be moot, because I will have been able to send a message already. He gives a chuckle at that, too.
I'm surprised you didn't try any of the usual methods, like sending spells. They usually work interdimensionally. As long as you know someone from the other sphere.
With time, such things lose their potency. People pass on, people move on, they're no longer where you expected them.
Yeah,
many of these magics only work in specific sorts of ways, and if things change, then they no longer work.
I'm just...
It has been 3 centuries.
I know, but we elves, we live centuries, so...
You may not have yet.
One day, maybe, if I'm so lucky.
You're still quite young.
I was almost slain by a pie. Are we lucky to live 2 centuries?
Lafdul, the teenage wonder hero.
I mean, the thing is like, the...
It just feels like there's a spell that just solves your problem. Why not you using it?
Because it doesn't solve the problem. Like, again, it's like,
Yeah,
He's got to
this is
know
like
someone.
If the
it's-
right, but if the river has changed, then you can't send ships between the spheres anymore. And
Yeah, but it feels like it's given up backwards. Oh no, they're lost. Let's mourn for their death and move on. That's what I'm unhappy about. That's
but
my point of view.
but see, it's been 300 years, give or take. You have no idea what was happening in those first decades after contact was lost. But like any sort of they're not going to keep searching for other. I mean, they obviously have been searching for routes since then, continuously, but not concertedly. As in, that's the only thing. But they're always like anytime someone comes in from out of sphere, that is from a sphere they don't know, or I mean, like they're actively like monitoring information that they can for contact, which is again why they were so excited to see you, because for the first time they actually have this contact. But again, like, how many ships are you going to throw at just sending out to random phlogiston rivers and hope that they lead you home, kind of thing?
Also,
How many
considering
ships and
the
people are you going to sacrifice for that? And the magic, like sending, all that does is say, hey, we're still here. We're still somewhere out there. Again, that works for a while, but people die, people move on. Someone isn't as after like 30 years, are you really as close to someone as you were? The sending could just no longer work because you're not as close to them anymore because you haven't seen them in 30 years.
Fair enough.
I guess it does wear off after a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's like eventually you just don't know them well enough anymore for the sending to work anymore. And if you have no way of getting to them, then there's also an element of what's the point? What's the point of maintaining this contact if you can't get to them anymore? You have no idea how to get to them. All it does is say, we're still out there, which everyone has assumed. Like, they didn't assume that the rest of the entire Elven Navy has completely collapsed. And the rest of the entire Elven Navy has not assumed that they've ceased to exist, kind of thing.
basically this part of Elven Imperial Navy is just missing in action.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I mean, all of our real-world militaries list people that are probably dead at this point as missing in action because we haven't confirmed them. And anytime there's a sign that there might be something, like we hear about potential graves in Vietnam or something like that, then there's a check. Can we verify this and stuff like that? It still happens. There's still people looking, but you don't have like a massive concerted effort to find these people anymore because you just can't expend those resources. You got other things that you have to do. A lot of it is wait for new information and hope that everything's okay. And that's kind of what's been going on for the past centuries.
Because you don't have any more leads yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it'll be good when we... Well, one would always hope that we'd ever get back,
Yeah. So, I mean, they've done what they could, and the rest of the Imperial Navy has done what they could. There is almost certainly, like, a division in the Elven Imperial Navy dedicated to, like, monitoring for signs of missing ships, missing fleets, missing spheres, all of that. But
it just... I know this sounds like... I know how D&D works, but it's like the whole, like... We found Bob. Bob just happens to have the connections that tell us the way home. Yes, like, was there nothing on the other side? it's like, I don't know. I guess we just got lucky.
I mean, we had to sacrifice quite a bit to get the information, and even the information that we got was given us as a cryptic poem.
Braxon says to Lafdul,
And,
have you not?
and to get that poem, we had to go to extremely powerful being.
Yeah, it's not like they don't exist all over the place. I mean, well, at least I'd imagine there's more than a handful.
Yeah, but I doubt Fall exists in every sphere.
That is correct, and also, sometimes they will have an answer for you that you won't be able to get for decades, because it takes that long for them to do the research and stuff like that.
Speaking of debts, Lava, you still owe that foul. You got 2 years left to give him a load of books.
What? Have we been on the road for 5 years already?
He had 7 years to
Yeah,
pay
no.
back a load of books. It's been 5 so far.
I don't think you did that in the first year, though.
Oh, wow.
So it's been 4 years.
So, yeah, 3
Or
years
even
left.
3.
Awesome. What was the payment? Is to find information about your family or something? Or who you were? Oh, well, it's here, not there.
We still with the Admiral?
Yes.
Yeah. Sidebar, sorry.
Braxton's going to ask if there's any religions that have any religious connotations to the constellates, and if there's some people that have teachings on the wounded warrior on any of the worlds in the sphere.
Reminds
Everyone
me of
does.
Marta.
Like, he would tell you that every native culture has legends or myths about a great warrior who sacrificed themselves to save the culture, the nation, the king, another hero, that kind of thing. So the details are always different, but that core element of a warrior who sacrifices themselves to save others or to save something important for the nation or culture, that's universal, and every single one of them points to that constellation, that constellate, as representing that.
I would think that is pretty common thing in every sphere that has constellates like this.
Quite possibly.
And,
Depends on the sphere and the constellates and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick now.
Mm-hmm.
The consonant's on the same power level as a god. To us mortals, should I say? Our point of view.
They clearly surpass you, but any one of them could be smote easily by a god.
All right.
Are there any?
They can't grant spells and stuff like that. So, yes, Braxon.
Are there any ceremonies or religious rituals that get carried out in the name of the wounded warrior?
Some do, some cultures do, some don't. Sometimes it's just a story. It's just a myth that's told. It's a national epic kind of element. Some do worship him or her as a like an avatar of a god kind of thing. Like they may have a deity in their pantheon that is about sacrifice, so they see this as the wounded warrior in the legend as an avatar of that deity that appeared to carry this out, kind of thing. But it's all different.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you looking for out of those questions?
I'm wondering if there's some ceremonies where we could go learn the ceremonies and get the paraphernalia. And obviously, we'll still have to give something, but maybe we can get like buckets of poppies and throw them over the sides of the ship or
It's,
something.
I think, a good. I know this sounds old-fashioned, but a good old tavern crawl to learn of rumors or, like, trade ports, people that have attempted to go through, adventures. There's going to be some rumors somewhere.
Braxon's not looking for tavern crawl to find
You
out.
know what I
He's-
mean? It's just
No, he's thinking of going to some groups that say, right, every year we go down the street and we lay a wreath at a statue or something.
Well, considering that we already know what the Admiral found out with conversations with the Constellate, that it has to be some kind
Yeah.
of personal sacrifice.
I know.
Is there
Yeah,
any
Velthiad will
logs
say
of
that
anyone going through?
Velthiad will say that some peoples in the sphere, when they are leaving through a consulate, they have elaborate rituals, and others, especially merchants and outsphere merchants, they just do the thing.
Right.
Like there's one that wants a song.
Okay.
And so, like, there's some peoples who they have specific types of songs, and this is a cultural thing. They specifically have like a hymn praising the consulate, and that's what they do. Others merchants will just be like, oh, we heard this this bawdy tavern song at this other sphere. Let's sing that. Hey, it worked. All right, we're out, kind of thing. So
Do you think we could like launch an item out of a catapult to it as our sacrifice?
I don't think we have to launch it with a catapult.
I think it's more of a
Or throw it overboard?
the sacrifice is basically going to be something
Yeah,
that
intent.
you basically just have to destroy an item in a proper fashion for that item.
as long as they
So, like, if you
serve.
wanted to sacrifice a sword, you could bend it or break it,
Mm.
kind of thing.
Well, if it's a proper sacrifice, then it has to be something. It has to be like a proper sacrifice to, I believe, the captain it was, or
Captain or the group.
I can think of a few items that I can imagine Braxton would see as a proper sacrifice.
No, but it's a personal sacrifice. It's not.
Well, it's a
I mean,
personal
personal is
sacrifice
a-
for the group. The captain can do it as a representative of the group. But at the same time, if a member of the group is like, well, this means a lot to me, and this will get us through it, and I'm willing to do it, I'm willing to sacrifice it, then that counts too. It's just like the question is whether, so basically, like anyone of you can do it.
I guess Solas has to sacrifice his personal stashes of brewed stuff by drinking it.
Wait, what?
I mean, that just seems like you're sidebarring or sidestepping the issue. In that you're meeting the requirements, but you're also benefiting from
Actually-
the sacrifice.
So
Actually, wait.
our sacrifice will then be dealing with your hangover, right?
Yes.
Wait,
what were you
I
saying?
have
Ockar?
I have an idea of what we can sacrifice. We can sacrifice by full plate,
No, that's
Wow.
imperfect.
but it is personally important to me because I forged it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I mean, you guys
It doesn't-
can discuss that, but if that's if Ocker's willing to do that, and yeah.
Considering it's a personal sacrifice, it doesn't mean that it has to be some highly powerful, extremely costly item. It just have to be important for you.
Oh,
And
I know what mine would be then. That
I-
silly chess game thing because I want to chase down Joel.
I
That would be
feel
a personal sacrifice for me.
I'm willing to put up the full plate. I feel like it fits the deal well enough. It was very expensive to make. It helped me out quite a bit, and it is personally important to me. But I'm willing to sacrifice it for the group.
All right. Any objections?
No.
Okay.
This thing about sacrificing, can we not just teleport the item to the constellate?
No, we have to destroy the item.
We have to destroy it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in a suitable way, like Old said, we would have to bend a sword or break it.
Oh, I plan to take a hammer to the armor and just batter it till it's unusable.
And hopefully, well, not hopefully, you may gain some wisdom out of that in that you learn about your armor, the flaws. Gives you knowledge in the future.
Maybe.
All right.
From ashes you are reborn.
Okay. All right. So you guys have the sacrifice that you're going to offer. And you will need to, like, when you get there, Velthiad will tell you that when you get there, you'll have to describe why it's important to you and, you know, like, indicate to it why it is important and why you're willing to give it up and that kind of thing so that it knows, you know, and then it will evaluate your sacrifice kind of thing. All right, but Velthiad does inform you that it will take the elves at least a week to organize an expedition. You know, they got to get get the ships in, supply them, crew them, brief them. You know, make sure that they've got all that they need. So at least a week, maybe longer.
How long
And
does
they're
it?
willing to wait until you're, you know, if you give them an itinerary of what you plan to do, then they can basically be ready to either meet you at the consulate or meet you here at Krokoroth if you want to do some things around the sphere.
Did elves give us any information like about the libraries, possible wizard guilds, or any other stuff that we wanted to do?
So there really aren't exactly a whole lot of public libraries. You'd be dealing with libraries that are you know, either privately owned or owned by organizations. Obviously, like royal families and the governments tend to have their own libraries and stuff like that. There are wizards. Your best bet, if you want to deal with wizards, obviously there's the major elven nation on Erekal itself, Calathardriel, which is a kingdom of Averiel, and they do have wizards. So you could go to the capital and you know, ask around there if you want to deal with some wizards. They might let you into they might give you access to their libraries for you know, a fee or a gift or an exchange or something like that. You know.
You bring
Yeah, Solas would be interested in visiting wizards and making spell exchanges and such.
I'd like to ask if he knows anything about like any animal trainers that he might know of that are like particularly skilled with like hounds or wolves or anything.
He's not specifically aware of anything, but I mean, if you're going to the capital of the Elven Nation, you're bound to find some people who've trained animals. I mean, you know, elves train animals just as much as anyone else. They do have elven dogs, Kushi.
Right, I'm just wondering how similar that is to a dire wolf.
It may be similar enough that you could at least get tips, or if you spend some time training Beowulf, I mean, can't hurt to ask. And again, you're like, you'll whether you can get what you want is you'll have to go there to find out. But if you're going to that town anyway, it's kind of like, you know, your best bet.
Fair enough.
Braxon's going to want to see if there's anywhere where we can get another item that magically makes food. Or if we can get lots and lots of dry rations.
You'll be able to get rations at any port, and the Elven Imperial Navy will supply you up to your ship's normal amount of supplies.
Yeah.
Before you leave. So if you come back here to meet them, or if you meet them at the consulate, they will supply you up to your ship's maximum. But if you want more, you'll need to get that yourself. And you can do that. Any ship, any port will work with that.
I was thinking of going down more route.
Is there any equivalent of like? I don't obviously know if there's any arcane here, but like an equivalent of like a major like spell jamming port for ship overhauls, I guess.
Well, there are some arcane around, and you'll find them in most of the major ports. There's like the other moon of Krokoroth that you're at. That has some ports. There are some ports in the asteroid belt. The air world Remnal, which is the one further out from where you are right now. That one has an asteroid cluster, so there are ports there. The bigger the port, the more likely you are to find arcane. Where you'd be guaranteed to find arcane would be in the asteroid belt itself. And there's a good chance that you'd be able to find an arcane at the major capitals on Arrakal.
How long does it take to travel to Arrakal from Krokoroth?
2 weeks, give or take.
And the asteroid belt would be on the way.
Yeah, that's not that much less time, really.
Yeah.
And it depends on which world you want to go to.
Yeah, but what I mean is that it would basically be possible to visit them in a same trip without too much extra time.
It depends on which port you want to go to in the asteroid belt.
Yeah.
There's lots of small ports. There's 3 major ports that would be kind of the equivalent of a brawl type thing.
What was special about Siral?
About what?
Siral? What's special about that? Is some kind of like disc world? I don't know.
Oh yeah, that one is a flat water world. It has no atmosphere, and the water is apparently extremely hot. So you want to avoid that. Also, the thin nature of it and the watery nature of it means that it sometimes has a lens effect. If you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, it can capture the moon, the light of the sun, and basically fire off a beam of light.
Thalak, that was also a water world, right?
Yes. It is. It has thick plant bodies floating in it that can be landed on, but like as the seasons change, they tend to like wilt and die off and stuff like that. So there's no permanent bases there. But it's a great place if you want water, if you want to fill up on your water, refresh air, do some fishing, or get water plants and stuff like that.
Finn would be interested to know if there are any ancient forests around here.
Oh, there are ancient forests on Arrakal. There are lots and lots of ancient forests on Arrakal.
Druids.
There are things Finn would like to find in such a forest.
Do you need like ancient amber or something? What's it sap?
I need to find an old tree.
Oh.
A very old tree.
You're gonna carve your name in it. I heard that's what young folk do.
And an elder treant.
Carves in Finnel'ar Mohani was here.
You know what?
Wouldn't carving your name in a tree be anathema to a druid?
I mean, depends on your
That's
intent.
why
If you're-
Finn's ignoring him.
So yeah, if you go to Ericol, you can definitely get to some ancient forests.
Solas asks what season is in Arakola.
Oh yeah, we need some spring gallnuts, don't we?
Yeah, willow
Well,
gallnuts harvested after a spring rain.
I mean, you got a 50% chance of it being summer and winter or spring and falls. So let me go ahead and roll.
Of all the questions we asked the admiral, what season is it on the?
All right. Do you want high or low to be spring, fall?
Hi.
Let's go with high.
Yeah, it's spring, fall.
Oh,
Good. Now we need to just wait for the spring rain and find those willow gallnuts, and also we need to find the 400-year oak tree.
Okay.
does your no age work on plant life? Finn. Ceylon, I mean.
It does.
Or do you just have an innate nature of just knowing how old a tree is? I don't know if that's a druid thing.
It's not specified, but I think that Finn would be able to give a guesstimate.
He talks to the trees, but they don't listen to
he
him.
literally can.
Anyone can talk to trees.
Well,
Yeah.
they can reply to him.
Like, Finn would absolutely be able to tell you that tree's over 1,000 years old, kind of thing. So, if you find a tree that's that old and you just need something that's older than 400, that's fine. If he's like, well, these trees are somewhere between 200 and 600 years old, then you might need the no age spell. So we'll go with that.
Fair enough.
All right. So, what do you guys want to do, and how do you want to go about it?
Solas would want to visit Arakola and one of the major asteroid ports.
Yeah, I think I wanted to go to Aracle for the major Elven Sea.
Yeah.
I think Arakola is the most important planet of the system.
And that's where the forest was as well, right?
I mean, the whole planet is covered in like mountains and forests and stuff like that. So
yeah, that's where Finn would like to go as well.
And certainly the elves
also
would probably have an easier time of pointing out where you might find treants than, say, some of the other avian life that lives there.
Also, if possible, Solas would, out of interest, want to visit Thalak on the way out.
That's something
It's
for
the
you guys
water
to
world.
decide.
What do you want to do there?
It sounds interesting that there's the islands in the planet are basically floating plant life instead of normal islands.
They're not some kind of like giant turtle or anything, are they? I wonder.
I mean, there might be some.
That sounds interesting. Yes.
And also we could refresh our water and other supplies in Thalak.
Yeah. I think we're getting
I think
a top up
Thalak
here.
also has some settlements.
I might be able to find some fair folk on Aracle. Sprites and pixies. I need to find some of them. If I can.
Okay.
Need a translator?
Oh yeah, I'm learning wood sprite with you. Or was it pixie? I don't know what languages you know. I'm learning one of them. Ideally, I guess sprite was the most common one, or was it pixie? What was the most common language of that group?
It's either Sprite or Pixie. I can't remember.
Do you know either of them?
Both.
There you go.
Is it a case of eeny, meeny, miny, mo?
Along with Dryad, Fawn,
I mean, I've-
Treant.
No, specifically any of the Sprite Pixie would, any of them. That's good for my religion, but I want to try and pick the most common one, but I'm not sure if it's Sprite or Pixie.
Well, I would hope that you chose before I started teaching it to you.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm okay with you're making the decision on which of the two you get. It's kind of a 6 of one, half dozen of the other kind of thing. Hold on a second. Let's see. So I would say that sprites are more common. Pixies are larger, so they are a little bit more, and they're more elf-like, so they would be might be a little easier to deal with, but so it's your choice.
This might sound silly, but is there a Sealy Court's a mixture of all the types rather than one particular dominant one?
Well, it is absolutely dominated by the sprites and pixies. Like, versus satyrs and chorids and treants. Like, the Sealy Court is basically all of those Sylvan races.
Yeah, so I was gonna take. I mean, this is a long-term thing of my character, but the next non-web proficiency was Sealy Court, religion. So yeah.
I mean, many of them speak Common as well. Many of them will speak Elvish. But
I think it's good for my character to know.
Like, specifically, the Sealy Court is dominated by the fairy folk, which is sprites and pixies and nixies and sea sprites and atomies and, like, all of those.
I'll probably go pixie. I'll double check that. What's the best book for looking up Sealy Court stuff?
Depends on what exactly you want to know about the Sealy Court. I mean, the Monstrous Manual...
just general...
The Monstrous Manual is going to give you the information about the creatures themselves.
Yeah, I can look that up.
If you want the deities, Monster Mythology, or my write-ups. But, like, Pixies speaks Sprite, and Sprites tend to speak Pixie too, so it's kinda is 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
I'll probably go Pixie because it just feels easier for me, I guess.
Okay.
Find out which one's got the most squeaky voice. So then when you talk to Auld, he has to speak in a squeaky voice.
Oh no.
Squeaky Auld gets the oil.
Alright, so you'll be learning Pixie then. Alright.
No, I've been learning it for a while, but yeah.
Okay. So do you want to meet the elves back here at Krokoroth, or do you want to meet them at the consulate?
If we, well, do you mind if I were a little bit presumptuous for you, Leva? If you were to get to know one of them, we could communicate with them.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that.
He wants to dump you onto the elves.
No. I was wondering, could you just send to them? Or would they? No, I suppose they would need to know in advance what.
Yeah,
they would head
to.
Yeah,
we were told they need a week to get ready. So, do we really need to go to a planet for more than a week? Is the answer. We could just come back here.
I mean, they're gonna want you to give them an itinerary, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if they know what planet you're going to go to and they know how long you're going to be there, then they can plan for that, regardless
don't
of
we
whether
just
you're meeting
meet
them
us
here
up
or the
and-
consulate.
What this water world, is it on the way to this consulate, or is it in the wrong direction?
So this red dot is where the consulate is.
Red dot. Can you drag us?
Red dot. Oh yeah.
I don't see any red dot in there.
No, he's pinging. Where the number
Yeah,
5
I see
Yeah.
the
is.
ping, but I don't
I
see
couldn't
the red
I
dot.
couldn't remember which key I needed to hold down to drag you, so I was trying the ones that do it.
Yeah, we don't see it, but we saw.
Oh, you don't see the red dot. Oh, my bad. My
Yeah.
bad. That's on the
No.
GM layer then. Hold on. Let me move that. I thought I put that on the token layer, but I must have forgotten.
Now I
I
see it.
see it now. Right,
Mhm.
okay.
Well,
Um,
it's
where
pretty much
where-
on the way.
It's Lavos. No.
if so, that water world is that one, right?
Thalakor is there.
Thalakor.
Yeah,
Why don't
so
we-
it's basically in the way.
Why don't we meet them at Thalakor then?
No, you're either meeting them back here, where you are, at Krokoroth,
Okay,
or you're meeting them at the consulate. One or the other.
okay.
So just meet them back at Krokoroth, because that's like part way, or should be part way.
Oh, Krokoroth is where we are now.
Yeah.
Right.
We
Yeah, we'll
had-
meet them.
Yeah, you're orbiting.
We're meeting them back at Krokoroth.
Oh,
then, if
not
we're
unless
going in.
we can go meet them at Arkarol, and we decide from there.
No, we have to meet them at Krokoroth or the consulate. Is what we.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
what they've
That's
told me.
fine.
One or the other.
It's
I
because
guess.
they don't have any reason to go to either Thalakor or Arakol.
Right. This is like you're at their main base. Like the admiral of the entire Elven fleet, who you've been talking to, is here.
Yeah.
This is where they're going to organize everything, and they'll either organize everything, send the ships to meet you at the consulate, or you come here and all of you go there together, kind of thing.
Yeah.
No, we meet them here because it's like less of a needle in a haystack. Trying to find them.
Not to
at a
mention, it's pretty much right on the way back anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of backtrack.
Even
So
even
hang
if
on, that's-
we go through the Thalakor, it's not a big diversion.
So
Oh,
that's
is this sphere moving clockwise or counterclockwise?
I believe it's clockwise. Let me double check. Clockwise.
so. Hang on.
So on our return trip, it'll be even closer to our path to the consulate anyway.
On your return trip, these outer planets don't move fast enough for them to matter. It's the inner ones that will move fast enough to matter.
So it's 4 days per square out here, isn't it?
Yep.
So it's going to take us
Is
4,
that on
8,
outer or inner?
16 to get to the middle, or is that properly in the middle?
Let's see. So, to just get into the middle, it's 4, 8, 12 to get into the middle, and then
Yeah.
an extra day or two to get around.
Yeah. So we're talking about it's 24 plus a few more.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be a week. We'd be spending a lot more than a week to do that.
I mean, they're like right, but say so they need at least a week to get prepared. If you are like, we need to do some things at a major port, and it's going to take us a
silly.
month, then they're going to be like, okay. Then
If we
we'll
say
wait 3
between-
weeks to kind of thing, you know.
How long are they willing to wait on a rough deadline? Say if we say between 2 and 2
They're not
weeks to 4
rushing us.
weeks.
They're saying at least a week.
Right.
So we can do 4 weeks.
Yeah.
But what it means is you've got to tell them, right? And if you tell them 4 weeks and then you want to stay on the planet in the middle for 2 months, you can't, because you've already promised you'll be back here.
Right, and they will go
So-
without you.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, can we just send to them when we're heading back to them, and then we just meet
No.
up and head off?
No, you've got to estimate how long we're going to spend on the 2 planets
Yeah.
checking out these libraries. So
Well,
how many
yeah,
days?
that'll-
How many days do you want on checking the libraries and checking the forest? Like we can split up for that, maybe.
I doubt it'll be more than 2 weeks. And I think they weren't too fussed about it being like that, considering.
So, if you go to Ericol, the crew will expect shore leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 2 weeks there on the planet.
And at the same time, as much as they want shore leave, they also want to get the heck out of here and get home.
Yeah.
So balance those two.
So
And of course, if they're on shore leave, then they're going to be spending money. So
Because we're also, when we got stuff to sell, we got things to do, and these all things take time. So 2 weeks seems about a good amount of time on the planet. So travel there, 2 weeks on there, then we head back. Then that's our estimate. So 6 weeks.
that's about 6 weeks, yeah.
Yeah,
Is that
that
a
should
good
be
time frame?
sufficient for what Finn wants to do in the forest. Unless the treant he finds happens to be very talkative.
That sounds.
with short stop on the Thalakor and potentially on the asteroid base to meet Arcane.
It sounds good enough for me to be able to do get some training done at least with animals.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Is there anything else that you guys want to plan out or decide, or are you guys happy with that?
Yeah, Braxton's wondering if he can buy some star charts so that he can sell them on back on Brow. But he probably doesn't need to plan for that.
That's like.
Does the Elven Navy Elven Navy has pretty good relationships with the Elven royal families on the Aracle?
Yeah.
I would guess. Could they write a letter of recommendation for me as a visiting scholar so I could possibly visit their libraries?
No, they won't do that. They don't know you
It's
well
like
enough.
Yeah.
Damn. Even after all we've done to this navy.
No, they don't know you well enough.
I mean, they might take me on advantage because I'm a priest of Seldarm, but
they're not going to say, yeah, give this guy free access to your royal library. We don't really know him, but he did help us. Maybe they didn't have an ulterior motive. You know, I mean, like, you could have helped them and still be, like, chaotic, neutral, or lawful evil. Just saying.
I mean, if you go there, you might just have to pay for like a day pass. They probably won't object as long as you give them more than what you're getting. I mean, every library wants more information put into the library than they.
I mean, there's also wizards there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of
a lot of it will boil down to what exactly you want.
Is Lafdul really trying to give a lecture about libraries to Solas?
And there will be places for you to buy books as well. So
this is very secondhand knowledge to Lafdul. So he doesn't come from any, you know. Well, no, he's lived in a major city. They'd have libraries.
He's not a book learning type.
No, wow.
I mean, publicly accessible libraries are super not common.
Mm-hmm.
Like, organizations will have libraries. Lafdul would have had access to libraries related to the priesthoods and stuff like that. But
yeah, like Seldar and like religious.
Yeah. When you went
the
through
fundamentals
of
like the Seldarin.
And like a thieves guild is going to have some libraries as well. You know, like we'll have a library as well. But again, like, these aren't publicly accessible libraries like what we think of today.
Which is why I asked if they would, some kind of letter of recommendation was possible.
Yeah. but they don't know you well enough. Not for the royals.
Yeah, not royalty. They got to guarantee their safety at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Well, it's a pity.
I mean, you may still be able to get access. They're just not willing to take that step.
Not via this method.
Yeah. All right. Anything that you want to do at the Elven Crown base before setting off?
Really?
The elves will give you enough food and water to fully supply you, and since you're going to be coming back here, I'm not going to require you to track food and water.
I'll ask a few officers around. I mean, I would ask for my own personal reasons. I would just ask them if it's possible for me to get a Elven chain coif. Would they at least recommend, or like, you might get lucky if you go there, or do something, or pay something, or... I've already got Elven chain mail, and I am an elf. So
yeah,
it's kind of
coifs
like...
would be far less common. Elves do like their flowing hair.
Yeah, I know.
And they tend to wear different types of helmets rather than coifs.
Well, you don't want to let your hair flow in the wind during combat? What kind of elf are you?
Lafdul's a very pragmatic elf in that what he gets up to is very impractical for looking good and being, he has to be very...
Right, but Elven warriors tend to wear metal helmets as opposed to mail helmets.
Yeah. Well, mail's the best I can wear, so being a priest.
Right, I'm just saying that it's not very common, and you might need to get it custom made. You're an elf, though, so it wouldn't have to be a gift.
Yeah, I just say, is there an elven a shop that caters to elves on one of the major planets?
I mean, if you go to the Elven nation, but again, they don't typically one of the reasons why Elven mail is, usually a gift is because it's typically only made for the military kind of thing. People get to keep it and stuff like that, but it's not something made by your average public armorsmith or metalsmith in an elf city.
Unless they're exceptionally skilled.
Well, right, but even then, chances are if they're exceptionally skilled, they're probably not your average, a public weaponsmith. The Elven military is going to be like, we're paying you to work for us, kind of thing. Or the royalty would be like that, so it tends to be...
Maybe I'll just get lucky, who knows?
Yeah.
It'll just be a dice check, I suppose.
Also, you're going to an Averiel city?
Averiel where Elven chain is light?
Not as often as normal elves, because it may be light, but it's still heavy for flight.
Also, I would think it would be pretty hard to basically wear when you have wings.
Yeah, they are.
Put on.
I mean, they're a helmet. I mean, a coif would not be, but
yeah, but mail itself.
Yeah, but helmets are different. If you want a metal helmet, I'm not going to restrict you on it has to be a male helmet.
No, my armor limit is male.
Right, but that's body armor.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not going to say that you can wear a great helm, but an open-faced helm that's metal, yeah, I don't have a problem with you wearing an open-faced helm that's metal.
Or skull cap.
Or a
I
helmet.
just wondered if I could get something that was more than leather. That was all.
Yeah,
maybe some black dragon skull or something. I'm, something more than what I've got.
Right. Again, so you can get an open face metal helmet. I do not have a problem with you wearing that kind of helmet. You can't wear a great helm. You can't wear a closed-faced helm. The kind of thing that you would expect a knight to wear, but the kind of thing that you'd expect a soldier to wear, yeah, you can get that.
I think I'm the only one here that wears a great helm.
Well, I don't know what Braxon's wearing now.
Considering that Solas and Leva can't even wear helms.
Yeah, Braxon needs a new helmet.
That's the point. Finn, do you wear a helmet or leather cap? Because if you get critically hit on the head, it's really bad if you're not wearing a helmet.
It can be kind of hard to chant spells with one of those on.
Well, even another thing for you.
Usually the hood of my cloak is enough.
Fair enough.
I mean, he's wearing magic armor. I mean, not armor, magic bracers, so magical protections.
Alright, I wasn't sure what would happen in the case of something like that happening, so.
Alright. So you guys all ready to leave the Elven base?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's get on to this capital planet or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so you're going to spend 2 weeks at Aracol. Do you want to say 1 day each at the asteroid port and Thalakor?
Sure.
Thalakor? Alright.
Yeah, we can see what's there. Mainly resupplying.
Alright,
The
so
the asteroids.
You inform the Elven soldiers of your itinerary, and they tell you that they will be prepared for your return, and like you'll get back here, rest the night, and then set off the next day, kind of thing.
Cool.
Okay.
Nice.
All right. It's about time for us to take our break, so I think we'll go ahead and do that a little bit early. And when we get back, we can sail on to the other planets and see what's going on. Is that good for everyone?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll take our break. Good time to get something to eat or drink, and we will be back in about 10 minutes, everyone. See you shortly.
See you on the other side.
See you then.
I'll be right back.